All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Defensive Programming 101. I'm still a mad echo. If I can turn it lightly down, it'd be lovely. This is really wide. Okay, we'll see how it goes. So this is what can you all hear me? This is what I think security should really look like. As you can see, an example of security here. We have another failure right here. This one's also quite good. I'd like to show you this security failure. This is the web security in general. Okay? This is how developers write security as a whole. We block off the path, but we ignore everything else around the side. Now I'm going to show you another vulnerability, huge one here. Everyone know what Java stands for? Everyone? Java stands for just another vulnerability, actually. This is also another good one. And this, and finally we're here. Okay. Welcome to Defensive Programming 101. As you can guess, I am not going to take this very seriously. It's the end of a very long day in Swetugg. Had you had a good day so far today? All good? Learned something new? Anyone not learn anything? Were you awake? No? No? Okay, so everyone's good. My name is Nyle Merrigan. I am a managing consultant with Capgemini in Stavanger, Norway. If you're tweeting, please use the Swetugg. You can catch me at nmerrigan, if you so wish. A little bit about me. I'm Irish, as you may have guessed from the accent. And I live in your neighboring country, Norway, because we have the oil. Losers. So this is actually what we expect to see in Norway, a photo box with a tank, because they're very strict about rules up there. So I am an ASP.NET MVP. I've been an MVP for the last 5 years. I am an Azure Insider, ASP Insider, general shill to Microsoft, and I work a lot with different advisory councils within Microsoft itself. I have been doing web development for a long time. I have been doing security for a very short time. Security is my hobby. I love it. I have enjoy it. It's mainly because the Irish people were extremely nosy. If you look at our news, we have 5 minutes on what's going on around the country and then 25 minutes of what everyone else is up to. So that's the way we think. So I'm going to pose a question to the audience. Why don't we, as developers, write secure code? Open question to devs. Anyone willing to take an answer? You can do it in Swedish, I won't understand. Not one single person brave enough to answer the question of why we don't write secure code. It's boring, yes sir? Perhaps we trust the framework too much. That's a new one to me, well done sir. First time I've heard that one, it's a long one. Lack of knowledge. Anyone else? Yes sir? It's boring. Are you just scratching your head or are you raising your hand? Just scratching your head. No, that's not a reason why we don't write secure code. It actually is what happens when we write secure code. Oh, okay. All of the above. Actually, we don't write secure code because A, we don't know we should write it. We actually do. We just don't care. B, it's hard. C, it's expensive and the client won't pay. And D, most often, it's an afterthought. And to put it into context for you, everyone here taken an airplane flight in the recent, 15 years? Anyone tried to leave Sweden with anything other than a boat? Okay. 1972. You could get on a plane with a knife and a shotgun. No problem. Try do that now. About 1986, they became more and more stringent of what you could actually bring onto an airplane. In 2005, I came up to Norway for the first time. And in my bag, in my hand luggage, I had 4 liters of alcohol, which I didn't realize I was smuggling because I didn't realize Norway was outside the EU. However, could you imagine putting 4 liters of alcohol in your bag and getting it through customs security today? And the question you should be answering yourself is, no, or the answer you should be saying is, no, I don't think I would. And the question you should be asking is, why? Because some idiot decided with his shoe bomb in Glasgow to try and blow up an aircraft with a liter of explosives. Okay? Security in general is reactive. We see a threat, we defend against said threat. We don't anticipate the threat because we have to wait for it to happen. As humans, that's how we do. Programmers are exactly the same. Until they know it's a threat, they won't deal with it. You have to remember that code in general is written by someone like a 20-year-old guy or 20-year-old woman who's there going, I want to get drunk on Friday, okay? In Sweden and Norway, that's very expensive. They have 2 beers and they drink everything else at home. But They want to try and get before Systembolag or Vinmonopol closes, and they want to get out, and they're just going to, code's finished, it compiles, I'm gone. Tests are green, going home. And we write code for these lovely people. These are nice little user groups, okay? They're very happy. As you can see, they've paid me a lot of money to write a UI. I've given them Google. So, we write code for these. They work on the concept, if I say ABC, they will follow ABC. No problem. Happy days. However, these people are who I should be defending against. Our posh hackers. They're wearing ties, have balaclavas, and use Macs. There's good money in hacking these days, okay? The general thing I say to people is this, okay, here you are, I take away your mouse from your computer, you don't really notice, you use keyboard shortcuts. You use shortcuts in your day-to-day life on going through computing. How many of you know all the Windows short keys and how to get to different things? Like, for example, no one double clicks on my computer anymore. They use Windows key E. Windows key R for the run command, brings up like command prompt here, knows a hell of a lot of shortcuts within ReSharper or in Visual Studio. Programmers think like that because they want to shorten down the kill chain from their fingers to the code. They want to bear with code. We defend against these people because the hacker mindset is a very simple concept. If I keep poking, will it break? And if you can't answer that in your code, that means it's probably vulnerable. So we are going to educate our developers a little bit. Okay? Developers need, not in the traditional way, we're not going to fix our developers like by sending them to the vet and they come back and they're talking a couple of octaves higher. But in general, we'd like to kind of say, what is the problem with my code? How do I fix this? What should I do? Because in essence, the web is a very terrifying place. And if you are not actually able to put your code out onto the web and trust that it will work, it's probably broken. I'm going to pose another question to you all in the audience. How many of you are web developers? Hands up, please. So I would guess 75, 80%. Okay, good. How many of you write public-facing websites? About the same amount. How many of you tell your friends when you've released said public-facing website that you have done so? 3, 4, 5 people brave enough. Give yourselves a round of applause for being actually brave enough to do so. Well done. In 7 years of giving this talk, I get one person sheepishly going, I'm that idiot. Why don't we tell people we've launched sites? Ask yourself, why do you not tell people you've launched the site? Is it because you're scared that they'll break it? Yeah. Why are you scared they'll break it? They don't do web. That doesn't count. I'm afraid they'll break it. I don't do webs. Of course they're going to break it. Okay, everyone know what this is? Heartbleed. Heartbleed was one of the first major bugs in 2014 that affected OpenSSL. Do you know where Heartbleed came from? Anyone? Very bright light in front of me. Heartbleed came from a Goodwill patch. The patch was submitted 10 minutes to midnight on New Year's Eve 2012. Think about the code quality of that patch. Holy shit, it's 10 minutes to 12. I've got to get champagne into me. Submit, it's fine. Who else is going to, what happened was this. This is how Heartbleed actually worked. The idea was, it was a Goodwill patch. It said if you wanted to find out if your server was up and running, you would send a message saying, send me back the word bird in 4 characters. Bird, black. Now, except there was no bound checking on this, or no type extension on it. So what they would say is, send me back the word bird and the next 64K of data that you have. Okay. And off it would go, and it would just give you all the secrets inside in the server. After that, we got shell shock. Okay? And with shell shock, it was exactly the same. It was a 25-year-old zero-day bug. Anyone figured out the joke yet? I really should take the slide out. Matt Damon was Jason Bourne. Bourne, again, shell is bash. Bash was shell shock. 6 degree. I put this in, and I'm still having to explain the joke. Okay. 4th time lucky of, I've tried this and no one's laughed. I'm going to have to take it out. After that, we had Poodle, which was SSL v3. SSL is old and should be not used. We should be using TLS1 and all that. After that, we now have Ghost, which is a Linux security hole. Again, another problem. All these are kind of coming up as more and more issues appear because more of our devices are connected, we're more out in the web. Now, this talk is normally what is it? This is normally a 95 to 120 minute talk, which I'm going to condense down to 40. I have just proven in the speaker's lounge I can do it in 10 and a half, but the person had to hang on to their chair for dear life as I went through the entire talk. Okay? So I'm going to skip some bits that I would normally do. If you want to check out the other bits, it is online, but you can try this. So I'm going to ask a little bit more about passwords. Okay. Sir, you with the beard. Hi. Nice beard, by the way. What's your password? You won't tell me. Do you know the number of people that will if I ask them? A lot, yeah. Actually, 7's a good answer. I've only asked about 8 people. The amazing amount of people that will ask, if you ask for their password, will give it to you, is insane. All right? Does everyone know the difference between encryption and hashing? Yes. Another man with a beard. Ooh, there's 2 of them. What is encryption and hashing? What's the difference? Yes. Anyone? No, don't give it to me. Give it to the guy behind me. I don't have a beard. I barely have hair. Excuse me? Congratulations. Well done. Give yourself a round of applause. Give that man a round of applause because no one ever gets that. Hashing is one way. Encryption can be reversed. Encryption means I can decrypt. Hashing means I only have to do one way and do comparison. All data that you want to store secure should not be encrypted. It should be hashed, and should be hashed correctly. Okay? If you are storing passwords, do not store them in plain text. Do not store them in ROT13 encryption. Everyone know what ROT13 encryption is? Very secure. Right of translation 13. It moves it 13 digits or 13 characters right. Yeah, the lady over there going, huh? That's encryption? I said, yes, that's encryption. There's a doubly secure version of it called ROT26. Yeah, I got it. You know, if you can count to 26 with your shoes on, you're doing well. Passwords to users are like this. They're like underwear. Shouldn't leave them out where people can see them. You should change them regularly. Mom says so. And you shouldn't loan them to strangers unless you're into that shit. Passwords are our digital persona. They are the keys to our digital life. And the amount of websites that don't store them securely is horrendous. Okay? Things I don't like seeing. I forgot my password. Here's your password in plain text. You're not storing my password securely. Oh, yes, we are. No one can get at our servers. We have seen haveibeenpwned.com by Troy Hunt. It is a website that allows you to see security breaches and if your email address has been caught in a breach. LastPass does this, allows you to check if your website has, if your username has been caught in a breach. Because if it has, your password has now been out in the wild and is probably being used to check against your different accounts. One of the other big error problems is actual error messages. This, I was quite surprised. IKEA didn't actually ask me to put this together myself. Oh, come on, it's a Swedish joke. I'm trying hard. This gets such great giggles in Norway. I did take this out of the Swedish. Sorry, I couldn't find an ABBA joke. This, if we go on a little bit different here, this is a standard issue yellow screen of death, better known for the ASP.NET web applications. Now, if you read this, it says C clients IMA app data breadcrumbs.xsl. It tells you where the actual file is. It tells you what's going wrong. It shows you what it was written in. And it also gives you the version, if I could do this, the version of .NET it's running against. This tells you a hell of a lot of what the application is doing. It also tells me the developer has no idea how to set an error message correctly, doesn't know how to handle an untrapped error message. If I'm going to actually break into a site, I'm going to try and force an error and see does this happen. Because if this happens, it means you're not smart enough and I can start doing really bad things to this. Now, Let me show you a funky tool. If this works, we'll see what happens here. Yes, we can all see this. This is called Search Diggity by Bishop Fox. Search Diggity runs a thing called, this actually here is the Google hacking database, better known as GHDB. And what you have, is everyone familiar with a concept known as Google Dorks? Google Dork is crafting an actual Google response to say, I want to find all error pages that contain this. So in this case, if I zoom in here a little bit, let's see if I can do this. Come on, Niall, you can do this. Ooh, shiny. I can do fatal error, incorrect syntax near, all these type of scenarios. I can look for Oracle vulnerabilities. And if a person's actually giving me an error page with this type of information, I can then say, I can craft a response or craft a specific thing to actually generate this error message and then exploit it. I can go looking for Sql Injection. I can go for XSS. I can go looking for specific. I know if you've got an incorrectly configured server. I can find shell. I can find bash shell vulnerable servers. I can do whatever I want. And this requires you to know how to use Google. Every programmer here should be able to use Google because there's very few programmers that write pure code without the internet anymore. Does anyone kind of agree? Without IntelliSense and Google, I am just a typist. Everyone else feel like that? I program pre-Google. I'm hardcore. I was taught using magnets. The idea here is that this is a freely available tool. And if I bring you back out, let's see if this I can... How do I get out of this? Hello, where's my kind of thing gone? There we go, close this. Woo. That was really Matrix. Let's go back. All right, let's do this again. Let's see if this works. Come on, Niall, you can do this. Right, wrong screen. Did I just break the internet? Okay, let's go back. There we go. Right. Bishop Fox, Search Diggity, go nuts, have fun. It is really simple to do so. Find web pages that are displaying error messages that they shouldn't be, interrogate the error message, find out what they should be doing, send them a kind of, hi, we noticed your website is really broken. I'm a consultant, I've got good rates, here's how you fix it. You know, generate yourself some business. Permission sets. Okay. Everyone know what SA is on a SQL server? System admin account? God? Hello. Hi, Dad. How many of you have ever seen connection strings with SA in them? There we go. How many of you have actually used that? Yeah, we've all done that. How many of you have written applications whereby you've had web applications and you said, right, the permissions don't work, I'm just going to give it local admin permissions just to see what happens? How many of you have ever seen a web application running as domain admin? How many of you have ever seen a web application running as enterprise admin? That's God and his dad. And the little dog. It's lethal. Enterprise admin can change the actual schema. This thing was running as an ASP.NET account. Now, any of you familiar with IIS? Seen it before? There's a thing called IIS Metabase Compatibility, IIS 6. You can interrogate that. That's a plain text file. And inside each one of those is the SAM username and SAM password for each application account, giving you the username and password in plain text of the system account that's running. So if you ever forget or lose a system account, just go in and do that, and it's very, very handy. You're done. Now, why do search systems require read permissions on a database? Anyone? You are searching your database for something and you give it write permissions on the database. Why does it have it? Statistics? Maybe. Realistically, you shouldn't need it. The idea is run with the absolute minimum permissions you need to get the application done. Build up permissions, never take away. So in other words, if you can't figure out the permission set, don't just give it administrator and then try and decrease it down. You'll never make it work. Try and figure out what actual permission sets it works. Do not use partial or medium trust in ASP.NET web applications. It's broken. Don't do it. It's been replaced by full trust. Do not use medium trust. It is not a way to isolate your applications to allow them to run independently. They will break, and you can make them jump out of scope. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Xss Injections. There we go. Hang on, come with me. I know it's late in the afternoon. Does everyone want to take a coffee or something? Come on. Trust the Irish guy. I've got this. We're good. Okay. How difficult it is to find Xss injection attacks? For those of you playing the home game, not one person went, it is extremely difficult to use your keyboard. What you do is you type punkspider.hyperiongrey.com. You open it, you accept that you will not use this website for malicious purposes. Scout's honor. You click, you type it, you press the XSS button, you type in the domain you're looking for, and see does it exist. So I said, okay, internet, show me what you got. And I said, show me some SE sites. Okay, these are Swedish sites, apparently. So I looked at Zootopia.se, Machinet.se, Svenskerental.se, and Gardenhome.se. All of these are accessible, easy. Piece of cake. To prove it, there we go. Very complicated. We put up this here, and it just gives me an XSS. Not a problem. This site is very simple to do so. Now, putting up an alert like that's boring. Absolutely trivial, child's play. However, if I run something a bit different, and I show you something like Kali. Everyone familiar with what Kali is? Kali is the new version of Backtrack, which is a penetration tool distro from Offensive Security. Loaded into Kali is the Swiss Army knife of tools. Included in this thing is a system known as Beef, the Browser Exploitation Framework. And the Browser Exploitation Framework, what it does is it allows you to take ownership of the browser that it's loaded into and do stuff to it. Now, in general, how many of you have seen a Flash update appear on screen and went, okay, clicked it? Okay. Ever think how difficult it is to send a Flash update to somebody if you hook their browser? It is possible. What you do is you just bring up this. It tells them this is a VM that's running. I'd love to show you the Windows VM, but I forgot to activate its license. Oopsie. So here I have the browser name, Internet Explorer. It's version 8, hyper secure. It's running this. It's on 32. I can see what it's actually got here. And I can actually send it commands, which I have done before. And I can say, OK, I'd like a social engineering attack. I'd like to do a Clippy. OK, I can send a Clippy if I want to be that evil. If I know it's grandma, I'll be that evil. Look, I sent you a fake Clippy. Kill it with fire. I can send you a fake Flash update. I may have done this before. And what I can do is I can send you a custom payload. Now, normally what I do is if I do this to someone, I will send them what is known as hasselhofer.exe. And hasselhofer.exe, if you are in a consulting group, bye, what it can do is it'll change your background to a nice, stunning David Hasselhoff background. Very popular in Germany, apparently. So it's very good because we got sick of sending around emails that I like cake and I want you to send me cake. So this is a very simple way of doing a JavaScript hook. And all you have to do is actually just put a piece of JavaScript in the actual getting started. It says, OK, I want to do this, and I just need to send it an actual JavaScript file. So a script injection, script, src equals myfile.beef.js, done. The person loads in the JS file, it does it silently, logs in, you now control their browser, off you go. sfkino.no, which is, I think, under the, actually it's part of the Swedish cinema group as well. That's actually accessible, believe it or not. You can XSS the cinema site that's used by more people in Norway and Sweden, and quite happily send them a link to do so and say, here, please book tickets from this website. Can you? Done. XSS, beef their account, send them off, do what you want. Trivial. I can make clickjacks. I can make Z-frame attacks. I can do whatever I want. And this is just one free tool that exists. Now, the thing I'm kind of telling people is XSS is where you blindly take input from your browser and display it on screen. So let me get out of that and go back here. And we are so far. Any questions so far? Other than, is anyone really terrified? Anyone feeling violated yet? Because you're about to. We have a thing called a cookie. Cookies are tasty, especially for people like me. Cookies are used by a lot of web developers as authorization tokens. In other words, you have logged in, so therefore, I'm going to put a cookie on your machine so you will remember me, right? Good. And then log me in automatically. So far with me. Instagram does this. Did you know that Instagram sends its authorization cookie over HTTP? And when it sends it over HTTP, you can intercept that cookie. And web developers in the house, how difficult is it to recreate a cookie in a browser? Difficult? Hard? Anyone? Anyone going to say it's easy, Niall? Thank you. One person listening. Well done, you. That's why you get to wear glasses. We need to make our cookies from being happy to happy cookies. So they have to go from sad to happy cookies. Keep your cookies protected. Get them over HTTPS. Do never send an authentication cookie in plain. Never, ever, ever do it. Because things like this happen. Now, if you're wondering what this is me acting as a man-in-the-middle attack to you. This little box right here with the blinky lights is a rogue access point. And the two giant aerials that are hanging down here, like one of these yolks, is there to tell you that you should connect to me. Now, what I have done, I've ran this during today, and I had no internet access whatsoever, and I was just randomly seeing who people would connect to me as. So I had like Wi-Fi airport, backdoor spybooter.n, that's new, Norwegian internet access, Swebus, Dustin Guest, CPA hotspot, all these. And your devices were popping onto me. Now, I was sitting as your proxy between you and the internet. And I can do all sorts of stupid and wonderful things. Because if I control your access to the internet, I am God. No, actually, I'm the devil. God would just say, no, it's okay, you go onto the internet. Me, I control all things. To give you an idea, this was about 2 hours ago. 39 people had connected. An hour and a half later, 51 people had connected. Later, just before this talk, 74 people had connected. There is not one thing I'm doing. I'm just actually answering yes. What this device does, it acts as a proxy to the internet. And I say, okay, if you want to connect, and you say, I'm looking for CPH hotspot, I'll go, I'm that. And you jump onto me and go, woo, internet. I then tell it to say, okay, your DNS now points to me. So if you go to any particular page, you will load up my web server. Have you all familiar with what's known as a captive portal? Captive portal, everyone familiar? Captive portal is when you go to your local hotel. You log in and they say, please enter your room number and your name and you'll be logged onto the internet. You go to any hotel or any airport, they say the exact same thing. I created a captive portal that said, welcome to this blah blah coffee shop. We are trialing a new system here, so please enter your social media provider and your username and password, and we will connect you to that site. Click OK. 75 people gave me their Gmail accounts. 37 of them gave me their Facebook accounts. You think I'm joking? Watch what they did in London. In London, about 3 or 4 months ago, they tried an experiment where they said, if you want Wi-Fi, please read the terms and conditions, click OK, and click submit. People went, yeah, submit. Rule number 6 said, if you connect to our Wi-Fi, you promise us your firstborn child. The Herod clause. It was quite good. They grew their own army that day. 47 people gave them their firstborn children, you know. So mom and dad could look on Facebook. Nice. 9 months in the making so I can have 9 minutes of free internet access. Well done. People will sell their soul for free Wi-Fi. Really will sell their soul. They'll sell their firstborn children, but they'll sell their soul. Now, if I control your internet access, and this is why I'm saying, if you're sending over stuff in plain text, in unencrypted channels, and I'm in the middle, I'll take it. Now, I'm going to say this. We are all familiar with a conference called Eurodev, correct? Heard of it? Fairly big here in Sweden. The organizer of Eurodev was down in Poland, and I was doing this talk, and I had my little doohickey running here. And I came up after the talk, and I was looking through quickly the logs before I destroy them, and see did anything just really stupid happen. And I see login.nsf, and I was like, where's that from? Eurodev. Interesting. Admin.eurodev.se. Interesting. Username and password. Ooh, interesting. So what had happened was I'd forced Eurodev to back down from HTTPS down to HTTP. And they sent the username and password in plain text to me. And I went, okay, if you're going to give me your username and password, I'll take it. So always make sure that you are using your TLS correctly. Don't use SSL v3. It's broken and it's old. It's tired. It deserves a rest. Let it be. Let it die. Please. We get on to the final main thing, which is Sql injection. Believe it or not, in 2015, it is still the #1 cause of developer pain and stupidity in the world. How hard is it to protect against SQLI? I'm shouting at you because I know it's bad and I want you to wake up and listen. Don't laugh at me. I'm not meant to be funny. I'm Irish and I'm sober. It's not right. SQL injection, believe it or not, is still the #1 problem out there, and you'd think it would be solved by now because we're using ORMs. People still roll their own. People still forget. I had a client that says, "Yeah, we're super secure. We're using SQL stored procedures." And I'm like, "That's great." And let me show. Can I see your stored procedures? I said, "Sure." Inside exec, meaning it was running blank SQL, and whatever was being taken in from the web server, it ran. So of course, people thought they were being protected. SQL injection is not just a case of saying block all selects. I saw on a Welsh website they had a piece of JavaScript that blocked all selects, inserts, deletes, SQL keywords. This mad long dictionary of things you weren't allowed to do. So one guy just hex encoded all the commands and sent it down the pipe, and it worked. It's like I tell people, you should be making sure that you can not be SQL injected. It's not very difficult. Make sure you use something like Entity Framework, any of the particular ORMs, whatever you want to use. Just make sure that if you're test against it. Do you all familiar with what's known as a website fuzzing tool? Fuzzy, it's good for you. Okay? A fuzzer allows you to spend a lot of data very quickly to your website to test, will it perform and will it actually accept invalid tokens? And you can generate a massive list of data and just say, request, 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 request. And off you go. And you can see if your actual application will perform and will actually not break. Website fuzzers are on part of Kali, no problem, go off and get them. You can do this as part of Fiddler if you want to generate a massive amount of requests and get them to replay and see if anything goes wrong. Fuzz your websites, make sure they're actually able to defend against SQL injection. The final one is users. They are the #1 threat. Now, Emily made a comment of, for example, would you blame the victims instead of blaming the programmers? I said, well, it's kind of like car makers. We give you every single tool we can to make sure you don't hurt yourself. But if you crash the car, sorry, Mac. If you allow your website to be vulnerable and then your users get infected, it's kind of on you. But you need to look and make sure you take care of your users as well. They're not going to use the system the way you use it, so watch how they perform and watch how they track through the system. As I said, they go ABC, but sometimes they may go ACB, just because. Today, that's that day. They will cause you ultimate frustration, but in general, we have to write code for these people. Take care of them. They're nice and fluffy and soft. They deserve. So I have a couple of ASP.NET resources. We have the OWASP Top 10, which is a free ebook by Troy Hunt. Please download it. We have some security practices, MVC security, combating clickjacking with Xframe, anti-XSS toolkit, which is built into the framework now. It wasn't at the time. A safer web if you want to actually run against your website and see does it actually get problems. Do you want to take more photos? I'll step over here quietly and take a sip of water. Or do you want me to photobomb? There's one guy going, God damn it. I will put all the bits online, don't worry. We have some security tool and resources. These will all be online. These are very cool. These are all the tools that I've been using. So there's PunkSpider, which is your how to find stuff on the internet. Shodan is a search engine for the Internet of Things. So if you want to know what your application or your home router is up to, put your IP address in there and see what happens. You have SearchDiggity and the exploit database. Both of these are ways to find out if your application is vulnerable. If you're running on vulnerable software, it may not be your actual code that's the problem. It may be something under the hood. There's SharePoint URL Brute, which basically known as the SharePoint Consulting. The pentestingtools.com, which is you can actually fuzz a website to look for zip files, text files, random directories that exist but may not be visible. Have you, just as a random thing, all know what the whitehouse.gov is, right? Yeah, heard of it? Big white building, Pennsylvania Avenue, 1600. Black dude lives there. He rocks. In 2009, the original robots.txt for that site was about 2K of all directories that the web browser shouldn't look at. Area 51 was in there, I swear. So go look for that. It's just a reason why you shouldn't use robot.txt as a security consideration. OWASP Zap, which is the Z Attack proxy project, is effectively a reverse proxy, a configurable proxy to run your applications through and see what you can break, and see if someone's actually trying to hack your site, what they can actually do. I recommend if you are a phone developer, application developer, you get used to using things like or Zap and Fiddler, and actually see what information you're sending over the wire. And are you using TLS? Are you using everything correctly? The amount of people who actually send usernames and passwords from system applications in plain text is quite astonishing. And it's very easy. Like, look at BA, what they did with theirs. They were sending down all the usernames or all the passwords to their Wi-Fi access points in the lounges in the airports before you logged into their application. So if you wanted free Wi-Fi, you just had to kind of sniff the traffic and you got it. Kali Linux is if you are going to run through your application with different penetration testing tools. This is fantastic. It allows you to see, are you leaking information about what your application is doing inadvertently? See what the fuzzers will do and what they'll find. So some image credits and stuff, and then some contact info. So I've got this nice opaque account, which is just in case this, but if you come get my business card, you can email me directly. And because I'm not paranoid about security, but I forgot my tinfoil. So, any questions, comments? Yes, sir. Can I automate these attacks? Can you automate the security tools that you're building? Very good question. You can put build steps in and actually, as part of the build process, have these run as tests. For example, you can get the fuzzer to run and just see how it reacts, but it might mean your build is delayed a little bit. But if you want to put it part of your regression testing or integration testing, and then get it to see, okay, build works, but our actual tests are failing because you're failing a fuzz here and there, especially if you find new fuzzing tools and stuff like that. Definitely you can automate this, because most of these are command line or whatever. Anything else? Any more questions? Yes, sir. Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, was it a public access point I was running? I'm running a access point right now. I don't know if it's just running Karma or if it's running PineAP. The thing in behind the hood underneath that is a thing called Karma. And what Karma does is it says yes to any access point request it receives. So when your phone or any of your devices broadcast is, for example, my home network name here, it goes, yes. And it goes, okay, cool, I'll jump on. But because it's you probably got WPA2. If you're running WEP, please change that. If you're running WPA2, it'll say, okay, sorry, you can't connect. However, because you can't connect, and even though I'm broadcasting hot, it'll say, hi, I've got a list of open networks I like. And you'll go, okay, I'm all of those. I can be whatever you want, honey. It's a honeypot. I'm allowed to say it like that. What it'll do then after that, there's a thing called PineAP, which it's a modular part of the actual toolkit. And what it does is when you power up Karma, it says anytime you send a request, it says yes. However, The newer ways your phone and your devices work is they wait for you to broadcast to them before they respond. So what PineAP does is it sends out beacons to say, hi, I'm here, and I'm this SSID. And every time it gets a request for a new SSID, it adds that to the broadcast list and keeps broadcasting. So on average, we can broadcast about 400 to 800 SSIDs per minute. I've had that running with 2,000 SSIDs it's broadcasting, and to get the top 1,000 SSIDs in the world, go to wiggle.net and download them. It's an SSID list, and off you go. Like, for example, the Scandic hotels, heard of them? Fairly popular here in Sweden and Norway. They all use the Scandic_easy access point. Right, Hyatt, all use the same. All the hotels in general use the same because it's a default. And if you're an open access point, and I'm broadcasting as that, airport, for example, very common one. Let me just see. Bear with me for a second. So this is, sorry, you can't even see that. That would help if I actually showed you my screen. So this is, I'll try and do this again. Control or Windows key plus. So here I have a lot of the different SSIDs I'd picked up. Like no SSID is a very common one. And if I go further down, I can probably find Hyatt. So there's the Hyatt Regency, any of the highest chains of restaurants, or sorry, hotels. If I do Scandic, let's see, Scandic Easy. So these are just, and these are probably some of the most common names you can find. And like I'm at this, I think the end of this is, yeah, we're down here. It was 1,017. And if you were knocking around last night, you would have seen some of the hotel ones like Best Western, Capital Hotel, Xst, and Capital Hotel, which we were staying in last night. Things like, believe it or not, HP Print 1A LaserJet 100. People do leave their printers open to the internet, and it's very easy to kind of send them a whole lot of data if you want. But I wouldn't suggest you do that. Sorry. Nervous tick. Sorry. Any more questions? Anything else? Going once? Yeah. Yes, sir. Oh, whoa, there we go. We got a first one. I can't see you, sorry.
Are you switching SSIDs all the time?
Yes, I'm broadcasting them all.
Okay.
So,
what information would you get from my phone when I automatically connect to your phone?
well, what I could do is for example, your phone will connect to me. So, in a traditional sense, I am now standing here and I'm saying, okay, instead of going to www.facebook.com, I send you to 172.16.42.1. And it looks like facebook.com. However, Chrome will complain that there's probably a phishing website. Okay? However, I can run things like there's HSTS using the Mana toolkit and block HSTS. Now, I wouldn't probably do it for Facebook. I'd do it something else. I'd probably put you in a kind of a scenario where I'd ask you for your username and password and credentials, and you'd probably give them to me. It's absolutely fascinating how many people click yes to this. What happens is I can start doing things. I can say HTTP strip. I can knock you back to HTTP. I can see all the websites you're browsing. I can sniff your traffic. I can fire up, like, for example, Wireshark here. Let's do it down here, sorry. I'll get this up here, close window. If I do, we have a thing called Wireshark. And what Wireshark is a network monitoring tool. And I can see, like, this is all the network traffic that's going through my device to here. It's plugged in, as you can see here. And this is all the networking information that's going through me. So I can just sniff it all in real time. If I wanted to, I would send you a fake cert and ask you to install it. And if I control your HTTPS cert at your level, and you trust my cert, I can read HTTPS in plain text. Now, that is more advanced, and that's partly social engineering. A bit light out of scope here, but this is an example of, for example, I'm sniffing your network. And I can use this type of scenario to look at what your data, your web server is actually sending back and forth. And if you're not encrypting correctly, or you're not doing TLS correctly, I can definitely find information here.
So
yes?
What I could do, though, is forget the network.
Yes, you could. Or you could just do the usual thing. Don't connect to unsecured networks first. Turn that off. By default, this is a design perk. You know what, we'll be very good. This guy's taking another phone going, I'm going to do that now. If you have an iPhone 5, I think, and possibly iOS 8 or one of the lower ones, you can delete access points now if you want. Because believe it or not, iOS 8 wouldn't actually send you the actual preferred access list until you broadcast a hidden SSID. And then it would say, oh, you might be one of the ones I need. Here, how about all of these? Okay, I'll take all that. This is, as you can see, is like the little blinky lights are going a bit bananas here at the moment. So, yeah. Any other questions? Going once? Oh, right, more? Why don't more sites get hacked? We don't have enough time. We do like to sleep and eat and not shave beards and shit. It depends. The reason is low-value targets, if they get 100 hits a day, it's not worth the time. However, you're going for high-value targets. Like, look at what the Lizard Squad did against, they tried to black out Xbox and PSN. High value, and actually that gives me another thing here. There's a huge rise lately in cryptoware, so be very careful of that. Are you familiar with malware? What malware is? Like Java. Strike two. Cryptoware is where someone sends you a file, and as soon as you open it, it starts encrypting your hard disk with AES encryption, which is asymmetric, meaning there's a public key and a private key. And because you don't have the private key, you cannot decrypt the disk. So all your files start getting encrypted. Now, if you have anything more than 1 or 2 characters in AES 256, the time to decrypt the password is measured in years. And what the hacker will do was it will send you this file, it'll start encrypting your device and say, you have 36 hours to pay us 2 Bitcoins to get your private key back so you can decrypt your files. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you use cloud backup solutions right now or have backed up your data in January? We're doing quite well here. Usually the audience is like, backup? Cloud? It's very common. Be very careful of it. Watch out. This is a social engineering attack. It's becoming more and more, and it's quite lucrative. So they might, and if you can inject this in a rogue system where if you get a high volume traffic site, and you can just say, okay, now put cryptoware on it, and then you can just keep going. To answer your question is why more sites don't get hacked, a lot of the time, basically the people are not interested in hacking a mom and pop store. They might do it for the lulls, whatever you want, but in general, it's not worth their time. I would like to plead the fifth on that, even though the fifth is not valid here, but another funny story. Do we have time? Is it okay if I go a little bit over? Yeah. Go on, okay. Funny story time. Time with Niall, actually. So, I am going down to Spain, and I'm going with my family, and I would like them to book cars. And they said, can you book the cars? I said, sure, I can. And I booked 2 cars, bought them rented them online, everything done. Sent down my credit card via HTTPS, checked all the stuff, don't worry, I was good. And I ring up and say, listen, my brother's coming in 6 hours ahead of me. Is there any chance he could collect the cars in front? And he goes, yes, he can do that, it's no problem. So what do I need to do? Well, sir, you need to email me your credit card number, the expiry date, your date of birth, your name, and your address. And I went, no. And the silence on the other end of the line says, why not? I said, because email is inherently insecure. And they're going, you know when you get to a dog and they go, it looks at you if you've done something funny, it's like, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't send you my email. I can't send this by email because it's not secure. And she goes to me, she says, but sir, we handle this 30 times a day. It's okay. And I said, it doesn't make it right. You're meant to be secure. And he goes, we are. I says, what do you do? He says, well, I print out. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I tell my mother this, and she goes, it's okay, I'll send my credit card down. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why your parents are frustrating and you shouldn't do tech support for them. It was one of those things where, yes, to answer your question is whether credit card places are a bit more secure. Yeah, maybe. Yes, the server system might be secure, but the human isn't. You can hack the human really quick. So they're meant to be PIX compliant. They're meant to have all this security in place. I've seen systems where the guy, you email a credit card. Behind the scene, it's a form action mailed to bookings at certain car company with subject and body being what you put in over HTTPS. And I'm like, that's new. But that's what happens. Credit card transaction systems like RealX are expensive. People don't want to pay for them, especially if they're small and they've got low margins. So you'll see this a lot on other sites. Please ring with your credit card details so we can verify them over the phone. Even worse. Yeah. To answer your question, if they're meant to be PIX compliant and verified by Visa, yes, they're probably compliant and they're using a third party, definitely. However, if they've rolled their own and you're not too sure, yeah, buy a disposable credit card first. Anyone else? Because I've got a plane to catch, so I can spend here a little longer. Yes? What's my take on password handlers like LastPass? I like them. I use LastPass a lot. However, there is a bit of kind of two-way thinking on this. One, do we like having my passwords running on someone else's infrastructure? Yeah. Do I like the fact that it's convenient and it doesn't matter where I install it and I can use my passwords? Mm-hmm. Does it mean that under gunpoint you don't know my GitHub account? I like them because I've forgotten more passwords now than I don't need to remember, and it frees up my mind for drinking more wine. Realistically, use a password manager. I like them. However, some places, especially on accounts that I don't know where it's going to go, I'll use like the opaque account stuff. I'll use things like that, and so I don't have a footprint that can be traced back. I agree with password managers. To give you the short answer, which one's best? Couldn't tell you. Depends on what you like. Okay. Anyone else? Going once. Going twice. Go home! Thank you very much.